guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, then welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Courtney. I'm MILOSMARKET on Instagram. I'll link that below. And I'm MILOSMARKET on Poshmark. So this video is about my first year as a full-time seller on Poshmark. I joined October 24th of 2017. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what I love about Poshmark, and also we're going to talk about 3 tips you need to know when you first start out as a full-time seller on Poshmark or even as a part-time seller. So these are just 3 little tips for beginners. So I have my little notes here. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is adapting. Poshmark is a relatively new app compared to some other things like eBay. And on Poshmark, they're constantly coming up with updates for sellers. They're constantly coming up with updates for buyers to make it a more streamlined process, but also more user-friendly, which is why I love the app. So one of the new things that they came out with in this last year was the bundle feature. It did take some time getting used to, but in the long run, I've seen it definitely increase and help my sales. So at first, there was a lot of negative feedback from other sellers saying that they wished that it hadn't changed and it was so difficult to use. And there definitely were some glitches when it first started, but they've pretty much smoothed it out. And I really love the feature. I love being able to chat with my customers inside the app. As beforehand, there were only a comment section on your actual listing, so all of your comments were public. Bundles are still public, so people can go into your bundles and see your comments to your customers, but I personally think it's more personalized and the customers really enjoy being able to ask you questions. And as a customer, I also enjoy being able to make my own bundle and then kind of discuss with the seller what deals they currently have going on, or if there's any other things that I need to know about promotions or anything like that. I really like being able to comment to sellers and as a buyer. So that's one big thing on Poshmark, is you have to learn how to adapt. And Poshmark does do a pretty good job of announcing things that they're going to be rolling out on the app on their Instagram page. So my second idea for a new seller is to be social. So I personally love Instagram. I use Instagram every single day for my business, and Poshmark is on Instagram. They're very active on their Instagram. So you're always gonna see new features being rolled out, announced on their Instagram page. Maybe not every single time, but I've noticed quite often they announce it on Instagram ahead of time. As well as other sellers who are on Instagram, they're also promoting the new features. They're also showing you, look, I got this new feature, have you gotten it yet? So that way you already know there's a new feature coming out. You can update your app, you can check and see, do I have the new feature yet? And then that way you can go ahead and get ahead of it before the feature is already old or before you're confused. You already know, okay, this new thing's coming out, I have to adapt again. And that's my second tip for a beginner, is to always be social. So that's just talking about social media, but also there's lots of other things that Poshmark does to help sellers go out and be social with other sellers. So I love Instagram because I've learned so many tips from other sellers on Instagram, but also there's something called a Posh and Sip, which is basically an event where you meet up in person, and Poshmark promotes it through the app and also on their social media pages, where there's going to be a Posh and Sip in different areas. So I've personally hosted a few Posh and Sips. I've also been to, I believe, 2 Posh and Sips hosted by other Poshmark sellers, and it's really a great way to go out and meet local people who are doing exactly what you're doing. They already know that they're there to meet other people, so they're bringing their A game. These people are going to show you the tips that they have. They're really helpful. I actually met one of my best friends now, my PFF, my Posh Friend Forever, at a Posh and Sip that I hosted earlier this year. We go sourcing all the time together now. We actually went to Posh Fest together earlier this month, and we meet up almost once a week because I actually met someone who does what I do, who understands what I'm doing, I understand what she's doing, and now I have a friend. So it's really nice to go out and meet these other sellers. I also went to Posh Fest this year, so that was an opportunity to meet hundreds of Poshmarkers, not sure how you say that, but Poshmarkers, you know what I mean. So I met hundreds of women who are out there doing the same thing as I am. We understand each other, and it's kind of hard to explain what you're doing on Poshmark to people who don't sell things online. So it was great to go and get some advice. But also, one of the things I learned at Posh Fest was this has something to do with being social and adapting. So at Posh Fest, they announced that people who leave comments in their bundles that they create for their buyers on Poshmark are actually 35% more likely to sell their bundle. So I've been using this feature. I've seen lots of other people on Instagram saying that they've used this feature and they've definitely seen an increase in sales just from commenting on your bundle like, hey, happy Monday, happy Tuesday, whatever day it is. I have this sale going on, or thank you for visiting my closet. And that just opens up a conversation with your buyer so they know, hey, you're a person, I'm a person. It's not like buying off of a website of any clothing store, because it's actually a person-to-person communication. So I really love being able to communicate with my buyers inside these bundles. I know I've already said this, but it's a really useful feature. It opens up a conversation and it opens up the opportunity for your buyer to see you're not just some big business trying to sell hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of stuff to them regardless of whether or not they need it every day, but you actually have a genuine interest in your buyers. So that's my second tip, is be social. And my last tip is you don't need everything to get started and to be successful. So I wrote here, I actually have reverted to a lot of my beginner tips from when I first started Poshmark, and that's what's actually working for me right now. As the year has gone on, I've tried lots of different photo techniques, I've tried lots of different sales techniques, different brands, using a mannequin, not using a mannequin, using a model, not using a model, flat lays, just hanging on a hanger, and I've reverted to a lot of my beginner tips, and that is working for me right now. So that's another thing with being able to adapt. You have to know what worked and what didn't work. And if you track your numbers, and Poshmark actually helps you track your numbers now with the new sales tools. They've shown us what brands you're selling, who you're selling to, who's buying from your closet more than once. There's so many tips available on the app right now to show us who are we selling to and what are we selling. So I've actually reverted to a lot of my beginner techniques. I actually don't use a light kit anymore. That was something I absolutely believed 100% that I needed to be successful on Poshmark, and I don't even use a light kit anymore. After I went out and spent hundreds of dollars buying all these different lights, I don't even use them now. So that was one thing I really thought I needed, and now I'm not using it, and I actually have more than doubled my sales in the last couple of months, and it was all without a light kit. So I can't say, oh, I needed a light kit to be successful. Another thing I thought I needed was props. Well, I pretty much don't photograph with props, and my items still sell. I do use a photo setup, which is like blankets on the floor and curtains, just as a backdrop. So if you call those props, then yes, those are the props that I use, but I thought I needed all these different sunglasses and all these things that I saw, these people who had really beautiful flat lays. Oh my gosh, I have to do it just like them. But I don't do that, and I still sell stuff. So that was really time consuming for me. It was really frustrating for me. I felt like I couldn't get the hang of it because I was trying to duplicate exactly what other sellers were doing, and you're not going to be able to replicate the exact same thing other sellers are doing. So just find out what works for you and just do that. So you don't need everything to get started. You don't need a light kit. Just photograph when it's bright outside. If this is something that you're doing part-time or you're just trying to explore your options, don't invest a lot of money into something that you're not positive you need yet. Another thing that you don't need, but it's really cute, but you don't need it, you don't need cute poly mailers. I really thought I needed cute poly mailers to brand my closet on Poshmark, but I stopped using them because I was looking for something that was recyclable. I was looking for something that was more eco-friendly, and actually USPS has partnered with Poshmark, and they offer us really great shipping rates as well as the use to all the priority mail boxes. So now I just use free priority mail boxes and poly mailers, or they're called Tyvek mailers from USPS, and the bubble mailers that come from USPS, and they're all free. So those are two things that I really thought I needed that I've actually stopped using, and I have not seen a decrease or a decline in my sales just from stopping using those two things. So those were my 3 tips. So my first tip was be able to adapt, get social, and you don't need everything to get started and to be successful. So those are my 3 beginner tips for new Poshmark sellers. I'm sure there's so many other tips out there. There's so many other sellers with really useful tips and really useful channels, really useful Instagrams. So go out and explore what you think works for you. Maybe my 3 tips don't work for you, maybe someone else's do, but you can try it out and see what works for you. So those are my 3 tips, and as you can tell, I really love Poshmark. This is my first full-time year on Poshmark, and I love the most the people that I've met and all the tips that I've gotten from other Poshmark sellers on Instagram or in person at Posh and Sips or at PoshFest. My favorite part of Poshmark is the social aspect, the community aspect. When you work from home, you often don't leave your house and you don't get to meet new people, but Poshmark really helps us to be able to interact with other people, which is one reason why I love this app. So I hope you can check out my Poshmark closet, check out my Instagram, and hopefully you're making your own Poshmark closet right now. All right, bye. Thanks for watching.